listeners, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Blooming Valley Garden Club podcast. I'm your host, Justine.
And I'm your host, Bethany.
And we are here today to share with you the joys of gardening, both from an amateur perspective and from a somewhat seasoned perspective. Would you say you're somewhat seasoned, Bethany?
I would say the seasoning is happening.
Yeah, it's always in a state of happening.
Yes. I wouldn't call myself seasoned, but I would say that it's been a couple of years of doing this, and I feel more solid than I did before.
You have a couple years on me. I've done gardening for a couple of years, but I've only had my first real success last year where I managed to keep about 5 different herbs alive for the whole season.
Which is a huge win and would have definitely added to the variety in your plate and made some delicious meals for you. So that's a success.
I did get really good at making pesto, which was pretty exciting.
Oh, we love pesto.
Absolutely. So, as listeners might have guessed, with the topic of gardening, this podcast is affiliated with the Blooming Valley Garden Club, which Bethany is also supreme leader of.
The supreme leader. That's too funny. I wanted a space where gardeners in the area, in the Chateauguay Valley area, could get together and share stories about gardening and share tips and tricks and resources and just have a fun time talking about this thing that we all love. And whether people were completely new to gardening or very seasoned, they'd all be welcome. It's been a lot of fun. I think we've had 5 meetings now. We started back in September. We're going into our first sort of real gardening season since we began as we were going into fall. So I'm very excited for all the fun that's going to be had over this next season.
It was so much fun. Thank you so much for inviting me to my first garden club. I went about a couple weeks ago now. And yeah, it's a really great collection of different people. You know, I was a little bit nervous being a very amateur, very beginner level gardener, but everyone is super friendly. So if people want to join gardening club and if they're in a geographic proximity, how often do we get together and whereabouts do we meet?
Yeah, so we've only had the 5 meetings so far. We were meeting indoors, first at the Café La Ruche in Huntingdon, and later on we moved to the library. But now, as it's coming up into the real season for gardening, I think we're going to be moving our meetings outside, if you will. We'll be meeting at different people's gardens. We've got a lot of ideas as a group for all the events that we'd like to hold and different workshops and things. So the calendar is going to be a bit more busy than it was during the winter, of course, and it's still being all fleshed out. But we will definitely be updating for future events on our Facebook page and online on my website, and so people can keep up with us there.
Perfect. And listeners, if you want to get linked to Bethany's website, that will be available in the show notes for this episode. So we have the Blooming Valley Garden Club. And now the Blooming Valley Garden Club has its own podcast. So what are we hoping really to do with this podcast? What's your big vision for what we can do here?
Big vision. I think it's really the same thing as the garden club itself, but just having sort of an archive of the different conversations that are going on at the garden club. There's so much wisdom that's shared in these spaces, and I think this will be a really great format to dig deeper into different topics. And it's just going to reflect the interests and questions and sort of hopes and dreams for our gardens that we have as we go along. So guests on this podcast will be people who have come out to the club, but also perhaps people who we might invite in as expert speakers on different topics. That would be really cool as well to have. So I'm hoping that we'll have a wide variety of guests and that people won't be shy to come and share these conversations with us.
Absolutely. No reason to be shy. We're all very friendly. You know, we're all here to learn from each other, especially me. Well,
oh, I love that. And, you know, the only thing that's biting really is the mosquitoes soon. So
it's true. It's true. Maybe on an upcoming episode we can talk about the mosquito strategy. I've had some
Mm.
luck with citronella, and I'm trying to avoid too many sprays. So maybe we'll talk about the pros and cons of different mosquito strategies.
Absolutely. I could talk all day about mosquitoes another time.
But moving into our first segment, I think it would be really fun if for the listeners, we could have a recurring segment, something for them to look forward every episode. And a recurring segment I'd like to propose is something called the highs and the lows of gardening. In this segment, we'll talk about one success that we had and then one abject failure we've had in gardening. For me personally, last year, like I said, for my first big success, I did manage to keep one garden bed of herbs alive. For listeners who don't know, I've always lived in cities, which means I've always lived in apartment buildings. So I've usually had access to like a balcony. So I've always been able to have pots, but they've always died very quickly on me. And last year, I finally had a house where I had a backyard and I was able to have a much more, I had a much more beginner friendly setup for me, where I was able to keep a closer eye on my plants and their soil level and the water level. And I did oregano, I did thyme, I did basil, and I did parsley. And this brings us tragically into my low. I got too enthusiastic about harvesting the parsley because I really, really like parsley on my pastas and on my pizzas and all of my little Italian dishes. And I took too many leaves off. And what I didn't know as a novice gardener is that you actually need like you can't leave one or two leaves on there. You do actually need to keep a few leaves on there. And tragically, I took too many leaves out and the whole parsley just withered and died over the course of a week. And I was so sad because the parsley one was my favorite.
Oh, Justine, it's because it was your favorite that it died. That's
Yeah.
sad. Yeah. Oh.
So that was my highs and lows. Bethany, do you have a high and low that you'd like to share?
Oh, sure. Yes. So I would say it could all be resumed in one word: tomatoes.
Okay.
Um, yeah, because, but I should explain a little bit. In 2025, I had a really great year for tomatoes. I planted 2 whole rows and it was a very abundant harvest. I think I had about 60 pounds of tomatoes at the end of the day.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And so we just feasted on them, and we had a few days where we were making sauce and even ketchup, some really good ketchup. I found this amazing Amish ketchup recipe that sort of replicates the taste of Heinz, but it was a little bit more, there was just something a little more to it than straight up Heinz. So good. So really great tomato year. And then fast forward to last year. Oh, wait, I'm getting my years wrong. That was 2024. 2025, I thought I would just sort of see what would happen if I planted the tomatoes in a different row. And it was the row that was the closest to this line of big pine trees that I have on the side of the property. And so I did that. And to be honest, I kind of knew that it was going to be too shady, but I wanted to see if I could sneak it through, and absolutely not. It was
Oh.
a wretched year for tomatoes. I had like maybe 5 pounds of tomatoes, and I deserved it because I knew that tomatoes need full sun, and there's the saying in gardening: right plant, right place.
Okay.
So it just kind of confirmed to me that I need to abide by that rule. You've got to give the plants the conditions they require to thrive, and they will thrive for you. And if not, there's really no cheating nature. So.
So I have a question about something you said. It's about the full sun situation because I also really want to have a good harvest this year. I have a backyard that faces a hard east and a front yard that faces a hard west. So like is that what you mean by full sun?
Okay, so the garden in your backyard, where the house is facing to the east there, like your back patio is facing east, you're going to get the morning light coming up over it, but then in the afternoon it'll be a bit more shaded because
Yeah.
right. So, and it's the front yard that's going to have sort of the hottest time of the day and the sort of strongest rays of the sun, because as the sun's coming up from the east, it's not as there's not as much heat, right? We're coming out of nighttime, so temperatures are still lower than they're going to be later on generally in the afternoon. So as we're planning your garden, we're going to think about giving priority to those plants that are going to be doing better with maybe a little bit more shade in the back, and then really heat-loving things can go in the front.
Interesting.
Which makes it a little tricky. Like, you probably don't want to plant tomatoes in your front yard, but you could. That would probably be a great place for them to thrive. But in the backyard, I think you can also do tomatoes because you don't have, like, you do have the fence that's somewhat blocking the light since it's got the black like vinyl in between the chain link. So that'll block some of the light, but you're still getting quite a bit of nice sun throughout the morning and early afternoon, I would say.
Interesting. So full sun means that you're getting the hot sun.
Yeah, like full sun means a certain number of hours per day that that area in the garden is getting its sun. So I think I can't tell you the number exactly right now. I have to look that up, but it's definitely more towards like 6 hours at least, I would say.
Okay.
Could be more.
So listeners, if you are planning a garden for the upcoming season, take a good look at your backyard or your front yard and really take a look to see how many hours of sun you're getting and plan accordingly. Otherwise, Bethany will tell you, you're going to get a very different yield on your tomatoes.
Yeah, exactly. Things just won't grow quite as fast if they're not in the right spot, or they could be stunted, or they could be sort of burned by the sun. So it's definitely something I'm still figuring out.
Well, we'll figure it out together on this podcast. But speaking of full sun, I think we also should talk about what happens to human beings when we're out in full sun. So, listeners, we are coming out of a very tough cold winter. Even as a winter lover, such as myself, it was a tough winter, and we just started really fast into spring, and I think we are going to have a very, very hot summer. So, on that note, I'd like to share a few recommendations, making sure that we're all staying healthy and cool in the summer, and we are avoiding dehydration, heat exhaustion, and eventually heat stroke. So, number one rule, you don't have to do everything all at once. Listeners, it's okay if you're mowing the lawn and you gotta take breaks. The lawn will still be there, you know? Don't power through. You know, if you feel yourself getting a little bit too warm and needing some water, take a break, come into the shade, drink some water. It's great to have a little spray bottle and mist yourself a little bit. Make sure that the clothing you're wearing is appropriate. Personally, I like to recommend a lot of very breathable fabrics, stuff like a light cotton, light linen, stuff like that, stuff that, air can circulate through. Listeners, watch out for polyester. I know we all love to shop on Shein, but watch out for the polyester fabrics. Those things trap heat, and if you're doing a lot of work out in the full sun, you got to make sure your skin can breathe.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, listeners, my number one recommendation, take a break. Make sure that you're staying hydrated, stay in the shade, wear good clothing, and know the signs. If you have a little baby or if you have little children and they're crying but no tears are coming out, that is a sign of dehydration. You got to take them inside. You got to cool them down. Same thing for adults. If you feel that you are very warm on the inside, but that your skin may be cold, pale, or clammy, and you're nauseous or vomiting, this is one of the danger signs. You need to go take care of that. Go take a break, take inside, drink some water, lie down with your feet slightly elevated, get comfortable. And if somebody is losing consciousness because of heat, that is when you start to get 911 on the phone right away.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. And I would like to add the importance of wearing your sunscreen and wearing a hat.
Yes.
preferably with a nice big brim. I found it very useful as well when it's buggy, as it usually is in late May, early June, to have one of those hats that they look so geeky, but they're so great. They have the mosquito net.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
we have one from Decathlon. It's so nice because we have a really beautiful river close to where I live, and we love to walk the dog there and take the kid to run around there. But you need the hat because otherwise you're just that's the sound of me slapping my face, listeners.
Yes. I would add that there are usually some sounds of swearing coming from my face when this is happening. But yeah, it's so important to be conscious of the sun, and so yeah, the sunscreen and staying really well hydrated while you're gardening, like drinking lots and lots of water, some nice fresh iced tea or something like that.
Perfect.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
So, other than buggy for May and June, what else do you think the upcoming season is going to be like?
Well, I'd say, climate trends do show that our summers in southwestern Quebec are getting hotter, that we do need to be conscious of our water usage in that context. So I would say that for myself, I'm looking forward to finding lots of ways to improve how I irrigate my garden. Yeah, last year, or was it 2 years ago? Goodness, time just blends into one thing, doesn't it? But the recently, one great improvement that we made was we found a bunch of old barrels, like a blue plastic type of material. And these barrels in particular, they had held toothpaste when they came across the ocean, I guess. But they're empty barrels, and they were going to be used for somebody's water capture project, and she ended up not getting to the project. So I bought these water barrels from her, and we set them up, and they're capturing the rain from our downspout off the roof.
Amazing.
Yeah, and we've got them chained up. There are about 8 of them, so that we're capturing as much water as we possibly can in that spot. And it's been a pretty low cost way to do that because they're pretty cheap. And so I'm using as much of the sort of recycled water, if you will.
Yeah. Can you walk us through that? So I understand that you have the barrels. And you have the gutters, is that what they're called? Running into them. And is that it? Or do you keep bugs out? Do you keep leaves out?
Yeah, so we have a little mesh filter between. It's just honestly probably a piece of a screen, like a window screen, that was repurposed as this mesh filter. We do, sort of clean the barrels maybe once a season, and they have to kind of be not fully disassembled, but you do have to empty them before it freezes. Otherwise, you can, just like you take your hose inside in the winter. So it's a little tiny bit of maintenance, but there are different ways of doing it. I've seen people have them elevated a little bit so that just the gravity, pressure of the water coming out through the hose because of gravity will be enough to have enough water pressure to water. But for us, we didn't do that. We have a pump that we turn on when we need it, and then water with our hose that's connected from there. So
amazing. Wow.
It's been great.
That's so cool.
I really love it. And I think another good way to save water that will be worthwhile for me will be to install some drip irrigation lines in the vegetable patch.
Okay.
So what's good about drip irrigation is that you're not losing water like you would with a sprinkler, where it's kind of sprinkling everywhere in the garden. You're really targeting the place where the plants need it. So I'm very excited to get that going. And then I think, just really watching the weather. I think everybody can do this. It's watching, okay, has it rained? Is it going to rain soon? Do I really need to water? Can I water early in the morning? Or at the best one is actually watering as late at night as you can, because then that the cooler temperatures are going to keep the water there for longer. It's not going to evaporate up into the air right away. So more water is going to seep down into the roots and nourish your plants that way. So
Amazing. We're going to have to talk more about water strategies as the season goes on, especially as you said, it's going to be a hot, hot one this year, which is going to lead us perfectly into our next segment, what's coming up. So I thought for the listeners, the dear beloved listeners, we could have another segment called What's Coming Up. So if you are in southwestern Quebec, here's a good reminder of what's coming up. So you can start marking your calendars and getting your to-do list out. In this particular zone of the world, May 18th is our last day of frost. Is that correct?
Yeah, thereabouts. I think it's May 18th, which is my daughter's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to
Yeah.
your daughter. Happy early
Thank
birthday.
you. Yay.
So, with May 18th coming up, let's talk about generalities. What needs to be happening now and leading up to May 18th?
Right. So for many gardeners, you'll already be in the thick of keeping your seedlings that you planted a little earlier on alive and starting to harden them off, which means you're taking them outside for little stints. You start maybe with an hour or two, and then you work up to slowly over the course of about 2 weeks, ideally. You're eventually going to be leaving them out all day and all night so that they're acclimatizing to the conditions that they're going to be living in as they once they get transplanted into your garden. So that's what's happening right now. And then after that last frost date, it's safe to plant them out. So it's planting up the garden with all those little starts. And if you haven't got little starts, you can go to the garden center and find the plants that you want to bring home and adopt. And it's also a good time to sow direct. You can sow things like carrots. You can even start with certain plants like already, including carrots actually, and more cold-loving crops like spinach and lettuces. There's lots that you can start sowing right away. But once the last frost date has passed, the rest can all go in directly. So it's a really exciting time. I mean, it's the height of the excitement, to be honest, or I guess some people would say that harvest is the height of the excitement. I don't know. But for me, I think the anticipation that you get and just the magical feeling of, okay, I'm planting this and now I get to look forward to taking care of it all summer long and seeing what it does. It's a great feeling.
I agree. I loved planting. Last year, I didn't plant anything from seed. I did what you suggested. I went to a local vendor and I got plantlings. Is that what they're called? Seedlings?
I love that you call them plantlings. They should be called plantlings if they're not. I think that what you got was like little plants.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
yeah. So some, at the nursery they've been planted from seed and then cared for there and established some good roots so that you can then plant them out and they'll be hardy and ready to go. Mm-hmm.
But this year is going to be different. Listeners, would you like to know why? Because Bethany is coming over and doing something magical to my otherwise grass lawn. So can you walk us through exactly what a no-dig garden is and why it's so good for an amateur beginner like me?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So no-dig is a wonderful way of gardening because it doesn't require digging. And also, when I was starting out my garden, I was thinking at first that I was going to have to rent or buy a rototiller and that was going to be so expensive and that there would be the upkeep and the gas to buy and all of this stuff. Because a lot of people do still garden that way where they're rototilling every year. And I didn't want to be doing that, so I was looking around for other ways to do it. And I found the no-dig method I should give credit where it's due. You can look up this dude. His name is Charles Dowding, and he's kind of the grandfather of no-dig gardening. He would explain it much better than I, but what you do is you start by putting down something that will suppress the weeds. So you've got to block out the light. You can do this right on top of your lawn. And what I use is cardboard. So you've got to go out and collect enough cardboard. Bike boxes are really excellent if you live near a bike store. You do want to make sure it's chemical free, like plastic free. So you want that real like raw cardboard if you can get it. And you want to remove any tape, of course, because you don't want plastic in your soil. So you put that down, and then on top, you need to put about 4 to 6 inches worth of compost. That's your no-dig garden. Now you're ready to go. Over the years, what you can do is you want to build up that soil on top by adding things like leaf mold in the fall. That gives some really nice sort of texture to the soil. Make it nice and fluffy and helps to feed it. And you want to keep adding every fall and or spring a little bit more fresh manure, fresh compost from your heap or something that's really nice and nutrient dense like that. But yeah, it's great because you can have a no-dig bed in under an hour depending on the size of it, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think for the size that we're going to have in your backyard, Justine, it really won't take us long at all.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just I'm so excited not only for myself to grow and learn as a gardener, but I'm also so excited because I have a very young son and he's going to be growing up just having gardens in his home, and I'm really excited about that, but I'm also a little bit nervous because he is in that grabbing phase of toddlerhood. And so now that I'm going to have this beautiful no-dig garden, I also want to talk about, is it worth it to toddler-proof the garden, or is that just part of parenthood and gardening? Is that you're just going to let the child roam and pull out all the leaves at will?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. It depends how you feel. I mean, it's goodness. I think that there are lots of ways to get little ones involved in the garden that can be really satisfying for them. And that if you could have him, as you're working in the garden, you could give him a little task like maybe planting some little seeds in some pots or something, or plant like right in the garden, get him doing something with you where he feels purposeful and driven to help mommy garden, and he'll love it, and you'll be
Absolutely.
be developing a green thumb in your son. So
I hope
nice.
so. More
Mhm.
so than myself. So I got the no-dig garden big plans for this year. How about you, Bethany? What are your plans for this gardening season?
Well, I'm definitely overdoing it with all of the seedlings here. So I planted lots of things here where I am in Toronto, and that I've been growing under grow lights, and then now slowly hardening off out on the back patio. And those things all have to come to Quebec soon. So getting them out there and getting them into the ground is the next order of business, as well as getting the irrigation system all set up. And then we're off to the races. I'm really excited this year about flowers. I'm getting a little bit more ambitious in terms of growing flowers that are a little harder to grow than what I've done in the past. Specifically, anemones. I just love them. They are beautiful, and they come in some really cool colors, more in the like pastel pinks and whites, and then there are some with like really blue centers, and they're just gorgeous. So growing them and hoping that they're going to like where they're going to go, which is a sort of dappled shade area that I've got near the forest, that I'm very excited for. But I'm also nervous because I had to invest a little bit more in them than in a packet of seeds. Like they're a bit more expensive. So I really want them to work out. Yeah, that's trade-off.
Could you tell us the basic outline of how you do the whole seedling process? Like, how do you start a seed indoors? Because I think the listeners could really benefit from just knowing what are the basic steps.
Yeah. So for me, I have these plant trays. They have like 72 small cells in each tray.
72.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it takes a whole day to plant 6 of these trays. It's like 432 little plants can be.
400.
Yeah. So I have 6 72 cell trays and 6 like shelf things with the LED lights directly on top, right?
Okay.
And so that allows them to sprout. So you fill with your potting mix, the trays, and then you plant the seeds according to the directions. You want to look at how deep their different types of seeds are. Generally, the rule is like you want to plant 2 times as deep as the seed is. So if it's
okay.
like a pumpkin seed will want to go down further in the earth than like a little tiny broccoli seed. And so you do that, and then you just have to keep them nicely moist, not overwater them, not make them too soggy. And also at the very beginning, as they're emerging, they're going to be really delicate. So I like to use a mister, like a water mister, one of those bottles with a, like you could repurpose
spray bottle.
A spray bottle, that's the word. Oh my goodness. So use a spray bottle instead of a watering can, which like the flow of the water is going to just be too sort of violent for those early days with the little seedlings. So you mist, and then you can move on to watering with the watering can once they're established enough. And then you do have to watch for 2 things, like when they're getting big enough that like the root system is starting to outgrow that small cell, you have to transplant them up. So, or people will call that pot them up. You want to potting up into a larger pot. I've found that using solo cups is pretty good for most things. They do tend to be big enough. You don't have to buy a bunch of pots, or you could repurpose pots that you have had other things come home in from the garden center. Never throw out your pots if you're a gardener. It's always useful to repurpose them. And then you do the hardening off process. And when it's time, after May 18th, they can go in the ground.
So what's your success rate with 400 plus seedlings? Like how many are going to make it into the ground? And then after that, how many make it to harvest?
I'd say with the right amount of care, you might lose a few, but you really can get pretty much to perfect success, I would say. Like they just...
Wow. Batting 1,000 over here, Bethany.
No. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. It's not about that. It's about like... it's just an exercise in attention. Like I've had years where things will die because I'm really busy with something else in my life. But when I can be really focused and just make sure that every day I check in with the seedlings and I just take a look, like, or even put my finger on the soil and see how moist it is. Do I really need to water or not? Like there's something zen about it. Like just the attention, almost like a little meditation. And that might sound like a lot of seedlings, but really I've seen a lot more done and faster than I do it, like at the farm where I used to work. So I don't find it that intimidating to take care of them. But yeah, I wish I had a school bus to transport them though, because I need to like borrow a friend's car, and yeah, it's a little bit.
Mark Carney's got to give you the Via Rail Elite Pass. Every little seedling can have its own passenger seat.
That's right. Or I just need to like fully live in Quebec, which would be great, and which we are headed for one day. So it's okay.
We'll be happy to have you.
Oh, can't wait.
So with 400 plus plants, I'm sure that the listeners would love to know in a future upcoming episode, what do you do with all this produce? I know I, for one, want to know, are you canning? Are you freezing? Are you dehydrating? Is it just 300 pounds of ketchup and all your friends and family are getting ketchup? So I think that would be an amazing upcoming episode, is just how do you handle the bounty of harvest? How about you, Bethany? What kind of content do you think we should be having on this show? What are you excited to talk about? Who should we bring on? What do you want to see?
Oh my goodness. I honestly am so excited to talk to anybody who wants to talk about gardening and have anybody's perspective on it. Even somebody who kind of hates gardening would be fun to talk to. Like it's to me, I'm very open to, absolutely any discussions. But if I were to be super selfish in terms of like, what do I specifically want to learn about from somebody who knows something that I do not, I'd love to talk to someone about mushroom growing.
Oh,
Yeah, I've got a lot of shade on the land that we steward, and there's there's quite a bit of forest, and mushrooms and forests they kind of go together. So
amazing.
I'd love to hear more about mushroom gardening and also more about trees. I think that was a big one that came up at the garden club in April. Yeah, that's got me thinking a bit more about trees.
Absolutely. So, listeners, if you want to share gardening tips, or if you're a novice gardener like me and you want to come here and ask questions, we would love to have you on the podcast. And additionally, because we are based in Quebec, we are going to be a bilingual podcast. My French is a continual work in progress, but Bethany, I hear your French is pretty good.
Ça va, ça va.
Ça va, ça va.
Oui.
Perfect. So, listeners, occasionally you may hear an English language episode, and occasionally you may have a French language episode. For your English episodes, most likely it'll be a combination of Bethany and me hosting, but for the French episodes, it'll be most likely Bethany taking the lead.
Super. J'ai hâte. That means I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yes. And then one day in the future, my French will be good enough that I will supplant you as the French.
Oh, yes. And you're going to be a better gardener than me too.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. You know what I like about how you talk about gardening is that you don't seem particularly stressed out about it. And I think that's a big thing that's a big mental hurdle I need to overcome, is that I'm looking at spreadsheets, I'm looking at, soil levels and pH levels, and I'm stressing myself out to have the most perfect conditions for the most perfect results. I really like what you said earlier, where you're like, it's very zen, it's very meditative, you just feel for it, you pay attention. I think that's the right mindset that I need to go into with this. I need to really embrace your mindset.
Aw, well, I think, what's the worst that can happen? You're not killing anybody. Like if a plant dies, nobody's dying. It's okay. It's just, and you have to fail to know what works and what doesn't, I think. So it's something that, I get it. It kind of stinks when something doesn't work out, or you don't get, I'm not completely zen about it when things go awry. I'm thank you for saying that I seem that way, but but yeah, I think I've definitely I like to center the enjoyment of it, because if it becomes stressful, then I'm not going to want to do it.
What a beautiful thought to finish off our episode. So, listeners, if you take anything away from this episode, remember, you have to center your enjoyment. Bethany, we're at the end of our episode. Is there anything else you'd like to share for today?
Well, I guess I would just encourage everybody to enjoy fully the beauty of the flowers all around you. Whether or not you're gardening this season, it is the best time to go out for a walk and see the sights, and smell the good smells. So I encourage you all to get outside and enjoy.
If you're not gardening, somebody else is, and you can at least enjoy their garden as well.
Absolutely.
All right, listeners, this has been the very first episode of the Blooming Valley Garden Club podcast. Stay tuned, subscribe for more upcoming episodes. We are going to have all sorts of guests and new content here for you very shortly. And if you are interested in joining the garden club in person, we will have information available in the show notes for you. Thank you so much, listeners, and I hope you have a great rest of your night.